I am your host, Nicole Will, and we're so happy you're here as we navigate the world with your aging loved one. We are here to come alongside older adults, family members, and the senior living community as we explore the world of aging and elder care with helpful resources, informative interviews, and approachable conversation. We get to do this together, so join us on our journey, and this is the Will Gather podcast. Michel is my guest today. He is the founder of the CareTrainr app. It saves care partners time from repeating the same information to new caregivers and visiting relatives, and it allows care partners to create personalized walkthrough videos and so much more. We'll talk about all the details of what that app offers, but really the bigger conversation of what motivated Mike to start this app and his experience with the home care industry and care partners and coming in homes. How do we find the right care partner for our loved ones? What questions do we ask so we can learn more? The challenges of constantly repeating information and how we've always done it is changing, and how do we acclimate new caregivers to our loved one? The reason for those high turnover and the frustration that we experience as care partners, and the importance of a plan of care and accountability. Here is my interview with Michel. Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm well, and yourself, Nicole?
I'm good. I'm in Minnesota, and we are finally having some warmer weather. We've had so much cold, so much snow. This is a late spring for us, but I'm here for it.
I'm in Florida, so I wish I could just bottle up some of this and have sent it to you sooner.
Thank you. I wish you could too. I know my sister moved to Florida, and I'm so jealous because she'll call on her nice morning walk and show me all the sunshine. So miss that. Yeah. Well, I love your positivity. I love your energy. Thank you for bringing that to this space. It's so needed. I want to hear from you more about you, a little bit about your background, why you decided to start CareTrainr, all of that good stuff.
Oh, certainly. To the audience, my name is Michel. I am the founder of CareTrainr, which is an app that helps you to acclimate new caregivers faster and easier. That is the purpose of it, faster and easier, guys, because one thing that is precious to us all in this world, but particularly care partners, is time. Time, time. And if you know anyone that's having a problem with having new caregivers and ensuring that those new caregivers understand how to engage with my loved one specifically in those specific requirements to ensure that their care experience goes well, that is what CareTrainr and who CareTrainr is for. A little bit about my background. My background is in health science and pre-physical therapy. Journey in life is like most of us in our 20s, we really don't know what we want to do. And it just so happens I was going out into the field to do my orientation hours. So I was in a professional setting, and it was in a long-term care facility. I walk into this place, meet this guy, and it did not go so well. All I hear was, "Get the out of my room," And I was like, yeah, I really think I like this setting. I don't want to meet those kind of individuals anymore. So I decided to go into the home care space to do some shadowing in PT, and I signed up to I signed up to work for this home care agency to get some more infield hours, and I get sent out to the very first home. Guess who the person is? That guy. The guy who kicked me out of his room.
What are the odds?
The guy who kicked me out of his room, and I'm like, no, this has to be a sign. Oh, lo and behold, that guy is the inspiration behind CareTrainr. His name, I call him Doc. He calls me Buddy Rowe. And it's a real sentimental thing because, all I wanted to do was not create a business out of this. I wanted to solve a friend's problem. And that was my friend, my mentor. Unfortunately, I feel like I was late on providing the solution to him and his family. And from there, I said, you know what? How can I help anyone else that reflects him, resembles him? That family was going through a lot of hurt. They have so much going on. And to go out and push out your hard-earned money to corporations that say they're going to promise you and provide you with stability, to be promised certain things and not receive them, and that ultimately falls down on the care of the patient or your loved one not being able to receive that, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And for me, I was frustrated. I just became frustrated and sad, frustrated and sad, and a little angry.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
definitely angry that for quite a few things that a lot of the things that happened with Doc and that increased the decline of his health really didn't need to happen. If
Mm.
we would have just had someone that was a little better trained, if we would have just had a little bit more accountability.
It motivated you, and it motivates us when we see this injustice. We want to do something about it.
Yeah, certainly.
It's not just a company, you're making a big difference. What are you seeing in the home care industry right now, and what's that biggest need for caregivers?
The one thing I would like to say and get out to the audience is this, is that in 15 years, right, think of someone else that was a care partner. And I just had a great conversation with Bobby from Roger that in the last 15 years, nothing in this space, home care, has changed. Home care is fairly new, but nothing has changed since then, right? For us as care partners. And we must ask ourselves, why is that? Because we have people that's lobbying, we have other states like California that are doing things, that are putting things in place that are allowing care partners to get paid, right? But the question is, why hasn't it changed? Why isn't it changing? And why are we facing the same exact problems that our parents faced when they were caring for their loved one? That's ridiculous. Come on.
It is. It is. It's time. We've got to move. We got to move forward. Are you finding that there's these like common frustrations when you talk to families?
Oh, most certainly. And I get emotional a lot when I speak, especially when I speak about Doc, because it's the thing that you're not really an emotional person myself, but it's like you can't help but to be. And I know how it feels for the most part to be in a care partner's shoe, and it's just frustrating.
Yeah.
It's super frustrating.
Families get so frustrated. And I've been in that position where there was a woman that I would go visit just to provide companionship with. And she would have a care team come in, and it was always hard to find someone. It was always hard to find someone that was reliable. Then you had to reacclimate everybody to what her routine was, and just the frustration and the amount of energy that it would take, right? I mean, it's a hard enough decision as it is to have someone come into your home, then let alone finding the right person. What advice could you give families on, like, how do you even determine or distill down like some qualities when you look for like who is that right person, and what is a good fit? What are some of those good questions to ask?
You know what? That is a great question, because I was a professional caregiver, right? And in all honesty, when I first started, I was a college student. So it's like, all right, I need to do this for school for the most part. I end up getting paid for it and, go on. But the qualities that I would suggest that families look for is honesty, certainly honesty and integrity, and some sort of compassion for the other person's well-being. You look for those traits. Now, a question that you can certainly ask, and I say lead with this, is that you ask a question that will help you to determine what are their critical thinking skills. And the first one that I always lead with is, and you can craft this anyway specifically to your loved one, is how would you determine what my nonverbal loved one needs if we're watching TV?
I like
right?
that.
Because what that tells you is how far is that person willing to go to find out what your loved one needs? Because when it comes to neurological disorders, we know timing is off. We know the fluency of which they need to speak to clarify what they need will not happen. So you need to know to what extent will that person go. And when you find that out, I think that can tell you quite a lot. The second thing I would say do is ask that individual. We live in a 21st century where phone is glued. Your phone is your third hand.
It is.
Right?
It's
I would
always
ask
with
that
you,
person, exactly right. I would ask that person about their social media. And I don't care what no one else says. As a professional, I'm going to tell you that there's no such thing in home care as personal in your job life. Like it intertwines because you're in a home care setting, an intimate setting, and you're there for an extended period of time. Believe me, you will have downtime unless the person is just coming in there for 2 short hours to wash your loved one up. And ask the person about their social media and question them right in front of them and say, hey, can I get your social media? Right? Because some tricks that nurses do use, that we do use, is we'll create a whole fake account. That's why I say ask them in front of them and then follow them right in front of them and then see how active they are. All you're looking to do is to see how active they are at work. If you see photos of them in their scrubs and uniform at work, if they're on there, that tells you if I post something during lunchtime, guess what I want to figure out? Did anybody engage with that post? When is that happening? When you're supposed to be caring for my loved one. I would definitely say those two things, finding out their critical thinking skills, finding out how they are on social media. And I would definitely say ask a very open-ended question that has no right answer. And that question is a question that puts them in a pickle. Hey, my loved one needs 24-hour care. They cannot be left alone at any point in time. If someone called you and said something happened to your loved one and they were at the hospital, what would you do? And just see what their answer would be.
Yep. See their thought process.
You can put things in place that will allow them to do the job correctly, regardless if they're compassionate or not about it. Because believe me, anyone that comes into your house, they may not all be compassionate about caring for your loved one. It's a job for them. Mm-hmm. They work 2-3 jobs. Mm-hmm. All you need to do is make it simple.
Yeah.
And that may sound hard, but you just need to make it simple. And the best way to make it simple for these individuals is to not give them much to think about. That means you put everything laid out in front of them and say, I don't need to leave anything to your interpretation, and here's how it goes. And that is the purpose of CareTrainr.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about how you do that. I'm excited to get into that. One of the challenges when there's new caregivers in place is all of the information. We kind of talked about that, the training that we pass on, the routines, those little idiosyncrasies that make up our loved ones' preferences. And then we have to keep passing that on.
Yes.
Okay, if we're going before, how has it always been done? And now we obviously know there's a new way to do that. Mm-hmm. How do we overcome that? What does it look like if people don't have a simple way to do that? How is it typically shared?
Okay, so typically right now the way that the information is shared is pretty much like the Stone Age.
Yeah.
We are writing everything with sticky notes. We're writing everything in binders, and we are constantly making phone calls. 2 of those things are out of date and it's hard to update it. And one of those things are just time consuming, right? And I do understand the struggle of the binders and the sticky notes is because the healthcare industry in whole, entirely, is still paper based, right? So when you get discharged, they give you these documentations and say, hey, here you go. When you find out your loved one has a neurological disorder, they give you a stack of papers and say, hey, thank you, you figure it out. So it's like, do I throw this away or do I not? I'm saying you can keep both of them. But what I'm saying is, what I like to do is like to look at industries and see what is working for them. When I look at the healthcare industry, they're using both. When you get discharged from a hospital, they're taking that from a database. So they're using technology in addition to the paperwork documentation. You can use both. So how do we get over that? It's first to get to a place where we say, this is not enough. I need to save time. You need to be in a place where you say, you know what? I'm tired of this. I need to save myself some time and I need to do things differently. And we're definitely going to get into what different looks like, because I've taken a step into the future of the home care space and I can tell you how it looks, and it looks nothing like how it looks now. It just needs to get better for us as care partners, not for corporations, not for the nurses coming in. It needs to get better for us. We need to be the center and the nucleus of everything as care partners.
Yeah, we're in it day to day, every day. The bandwidth that it takes. There's a lot of reasons that people get frustrated and there's that high turnover. What do you find spurs that?
That high turnover, Home Care Pulse is a major company. And the last 3 years, 2 of the top 10 problems have been lack of caregiver training and too many individuals caring for one individual. right? Which leads to miscommunication. Lack of training is one of those things. And when I say lack of training, the first thing that comes to a care partner's mind is that, hey, I'm paying these professionals. Shouldn't they already have the training coming in? We're speaking from a sense of non-medical training, specific training, right? To a sense of how personalized can I make the information that I give you walking into my home so you can make the care plan that you put forth or the actions that you take with my loved one, make that personalized.
Yeah.
So when I say training, guys, that is exactly what I mean. Non-medical, personalized verbiage and training for these individuals. And the way that we fix that is taking a different route.
Yeah. I loved the simplicity of the app, the CareTrainr app. I thought it was so easy to look at. Like, you didn't look at it and feel overwhelmed or, oh no, this is going to take even more time. I felt like it was really, really easy to use. And I'll kind of break down the different sections and you can speak to them a little bit more.
Certainly. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. You've got this profile, which is all of those loved ones' details there about their personality, some of their favorite things, maybe their allergies, different medications, what their diet is, some doctor's info. It looks at that first blush of, here's just a picture of the person that I'm caring for. And then it walks through the training, which is those training videos. And I loved that because for instance, the woman that I would go visit, she had a really certain routine. And the routine was a very specific way of how we transferred. There was a very specific way about how her feet were propped on this specific chair with the exact pillow and the face cream that she liked to use. And there was a very specific order to the face cream that we would be applying. And the first couple times I would visit, I didn't know any of that. So I had to learn that, and she would get frustrated and we had to figure it out together. But I could see if you really were in a position of, and maybe not as confident in knowing who that person was, you'd maybe go put your hands up and say, I don't want to do this anymore. This is really uncomfortable. I don't know what I'm doing.
I like that term that you use. Confidence, right? Yeah. Understand that, and I've worked from both sides, right? As a professional and as a care partner. So when you use that word confidence, I want everyone to understand that no one that's coming into your home wants to mess up. So if they are not confident in their ability to perform the job, not in the sense from a training standpoint, from a sense of uncertainty, like I said, one of the problems has been from a caregiver standpoint is that they don't tell me what to do and how to care for these people in a specific way.
Right.
One time they even told me to go look up YouTube videos on YouTube. Would you prefer them to look at something that you personally recorded or that is just generalized? That confidence is what's key to a better care experience as well.
Yeah, there's so much when we want to do right by the people that we care for. And you're right, I was trained professionally and also then in the family setting. And the training professionally is not individualized. And you don't know the idiosyncrasies of the minute details of how the person that you're caring for really wants those things. And we want to ensure that their quality of care is what their preferences are. And so having that ability to like access that at your fingertips really quickly would make a big difference.
100%. And I know what your goal is. You want to give these resources and advice to the family members, the elderly care professional, and the older adults. Here's a tip for the older adults that's currently right now taking care of their parents. Regardless how good a caregiver is, nobody wants a stranger in their home. The tip to that is, when you begin to bring someone into the home, by the way, start as early as possible. If you have not begun your caregiver journey already, please start early as possible. Okay? But the advice that I got for you is this. Your parents will not, it's hard to dislike someone that is doing everything right. If you can get that portion of it right, you won't have no problem.
Yeah, that's such a good point.
You won't have any problem.
Yeah.
I don't want her. I don't want her in this house. And then you wake up and it's like, oh, no, let me tell you what I want for breakfast. I want coffee. No, oh, it's already there on the table.
Mm,
Yep, the newspaper is already there. It's already on channel 44.
mm.
Those small things, those small nuances will make all the difference for you as a care partner.
Yeah, it's about you can anticipate
Yes,
before you can be
yes,
proactive
yes.
before you're needing to be reactive
There we
catch
go.
up and
Yes,
catch
be,
up.
be proactive rather than reactive. I strongly suggest that.
Yeah, yeah. There's also the calendar component, which we all have our daily routines. I like to
Yes,
do certain things throughout my day and being able to see and input that for the people that come in your home. And then also those care notes, being able to typically write their shifts. So we've got maybe someone there in the morning and then in the afternoon and then maybe overnight. And how is that information even relayed? How do you share that? And so that is the space to be able to do that, right? And pass that along, which is so, back in the day when I was in the care center, we would do that through, this was pre medical records that were electronic, right? So we would write all of that down, and you would hope that someone would open the binder and look at what those notes were, but it wasn't necessarily a guarantee, right? Best practice is that it does happen, but we know how that goes.
that
Yeah.
that is the thing when I speak about change that we should do. When I say we, I always mean care partners. I'm
Mm,
not looking for anyone outside of this community to fix our problems.
mm-hmm.
What we should do is take advantage of the times. We spoke about our third arm, right? Which is the phone. When we look at how documentation are done, and it's not still done like that completely. You still have people that do it on their phone. Prime example, many agencies now clock in, clock out, and do all these things on their phone.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever called, like, let's say Bank of America, or call a retailer and you tried to get to a person, but you've called them so many times, you now know the buttons to press to
Right.
get to the direction that you want to get to?
Yeah.
It's exactly the same way when professional caregivers come in. So when I say let's take advantage of that, is let's take advantage of the phone in a
Mm-hmm.
sense where people, like you say, they may or may not read that binder. They may or may not read that note. And what that leads to is exactly what it led to with me and Doc. If they don't have the time, or if they don't take the time to read the notes from the last caregiver, that leads to a lot of mishaps.
Mm-hmm.
That leads, give him the UTI. You miss one day of an antibiotic, that antibiotic is not as effective anymore. They
Right.
may have to change it completely up.
Yeah.
So it's taking advantage of that and ensuring that these notes and these things, like your activities of daily living, is followed to a T.
Mm.
Because they're always going to look at their phone.
Yeah.
Always.
It's that central point of communication, right? Everybody gets on the same page. The message
Yes.
is clear. You're able to see what's happening. There's also the idea of, and I know I think I saw you had referenced this, where even for families that might not have someone coming in every day, but
Mm-hmm.
want that respite relief and being
Mm-hmm.
able to step away and have a little bit of a reprieve, that they're
Mm-hmm.
able to then still utilize that and communicate for those shorter times and those shorter breaks.
Yes, and that goes back to our point of me suggesting that you bring in people as early as possible,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's not the fact that when you bring them in, oh, the workload needs to be so large. No, you need to bring into a process where, one, you get acclimated to their care routine.
Mm-hmm.
Two, that someone else is at least familiar with the care routine.
Mm-hmm.
So when the process does happen, you can't be there 24/7. You're
Yeah.
still probably a working professional. You still have a family. So to have someone else there to help you document what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
it will go back to what we said, ease.
Yeah.
That ease of understanding what to do, how to do it, when to do it.
There was a family that, this was a few years ago, but their grandma was
Mm-hmm.
adamant that she was not moving anywhere and no one was coming in her home. It was like she was super adamant about that. And they were starting to be concerned, like, how do we do this? What do we do? And so they had me approach it from, I had a connection to the family. And so I would just stop by when I was in the neighborhood. You can't see my air quotes. When I was in the neighborhood to just visit because I needed a friend. And we
Mm-hmm.
approached it from that way and we would just visit. But what it did was and I love that point you made about starting early. We just started with visits because I was in the neighborhood, and that allowed her to be more comfortable with the idea that someone would be stopping by that wasn't family. And
Mm-hmm.
by the time that she really needed more care and support, she was understanding of that idea and open to it, and the family then could easily transition those stop-ins to more care and support. So I love that point you made about starting before you might really need to, but also just start thinking about it. What things can you put in place that'll make that transition a little bit smoother?
Yes, most definitely. And if you are a care partner, these are for the individuals that haven't really started that care journey where your loved one is fully independent, dependent upon you. Things are always worse than they seem,
Mm-hmm.
right? Especially if you're taking care of a two-parent household where mom's taking care of dad. Always make the assumption that things are worse than they seem. If mom said dad fell twice this week, it's more. All right. So that is a beauty of the approach that you just mentioned, is which leads me into my next segment of the tip is that let someone else be the bad guy. Do not be the bad guy. Let someone else be the bad guy. And what I mean by that is allowing a professional to come in and be the bad guy. And when I say bad guy, is because anything that you do as a child towards your parents, whether it's let me help you with the finances, whether it's let you help me do anything, it's no, that's not your job. You're still that 5-year-old, right? So somebody else coming in, you can say the same exact thing as a professional caregiver coming in. They're like, oh yeah, exercising does make a lot of sense. You know what? I don't know why she didn't say it like that.
Right, right.
So let somebody else be the bad guy.
That's a good tip. That's a really good tip. And it goes along with that whole idea too of what good is, and you've referenced this before, what good are those plans we put in place if no one follows them? And there's also that level of accountability and expectation. So when I think of that, if we're not really sharing and being clear about what the needs are, of course, who comes in isn't going to have the understanding and be able to execute that. So that idea of being able to have those things in place is so helpful for people.
Certainly, 100% is because what I like to tell individuals who I have conversations with and families that I've dealt with in the past is don't leave anything to the professional caregiver's expectations. If I said to you, Nicole, can you wash my car? And you agree to it, and then I come back and the car is cleaned, but not how I wanted it. I wasn't specific enough. Hey, use this kind of detergent on my car. You can take it through the car wash. Does that mean wash my car? Does that mean wash inside too? You see the specifics that you don't want them to have to interpret.
Right.
And when you have someone to have to interpret what more than likely these care binders and these sticky notes do, no matter how great of a communicator you are via email.
Yeah.
It's so much information that I still have to determine what to do.
Yeah.
You know, and we speak about just accountability. That was a big word throughout my caregiver journey. Accountability. Like, I'm frustrated. When I call the agency, they say they're going to handle it, but I never see any repercussions. It's documentation, guys. Documentation is what's going to hold these individuals accountable. And what I mean by documentation is I'm speaking about time stamping things. I'm speaking about individuals writing down what they've done, and you can go back and go through this sequence and say, all right, this happened in this sequence, right? And that is the difference between home care agencies and care partners that I truly want you guys to take away from this conversation. When I speak about care partners getting compensated, that is one of the first steps. One is getting away from the binders and getting away from the old way of doing things. I'll say this with the utmost confidence. When I speak of care partners getting paid, and not relying on outside sources, government officials, home care agencies to do right by us and get what we need to hold individuals accountable and to get compensated, it starts with utilizing technology. That's that little phone that stays around in your pocket all day. Utilizing that and documentation. A home care agency gets paid by doing this, documenting what they do in the house, which is specifically for Medicare, 2 ADLs. When you went out to a home, it doesn't matter what you did. The agency wanted to ensure that, hey, did you mark down that you did a shower, anything that dealt with activities of daily living? Because once you document that, you can get paid. That's why a lot of your problems that you complain to about as care partners get overlooked, because I, as a business, still got paid. Imagine if we had our own software. Imagine if we had the proper way of documenting what the work that we're doing. And imagine if we can bill Medicare for the work that we do.
How amazing would that be?
Well, that would fill a huge gap.
Yeah.
It would fill that was 53 million jobs, or at least a choice for 53 million to say 53 million individuals to say, hey, you know what? I have my software. I'll document the work I do. Yeah. I'll assign my loved one as a patient to me. And I'll just become, I don't know, an independent home care agency. I don't know. I don't know what that'll change, but I certainly know that'll fill a gap.
It certainly would.
Lack of care workers out here.
It certainly would.
Just food for thought.
I mean, you're onto something, and I will be cheering for your success to make that happen. We need that. You referenced those numbers. 53 million unpaid family caregivers are sacrificing their time and resources and a financial picture because they are lovingly caring for loved ones. And it needs to change. Yeah.
At least I would prefer to at least give you an option. It's an option to say, all right, I will pay for this help that's coming in, or I choose to, get paid and work with my caregiver, and who knows what else can happen.
We feel empowered when we have choice. We feel really empowered when we have choice.
Always.
Yeah. So along with the CareTrainr app, what else are you up to? What's happening in your world?
Well, in my world right now, it is everything that I do with CareTrainr is self-funded. Technology is expensive. I know it. The application currently has technical issues. So certain ways that you log in can be better. And my whole thing right now is to just fix those problems. So CareTrainr is solely my day-to-day. Not a 9 to 5, it's my 24-hour.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah. And what I did and why I'm so grateful for Doc, if you guys don't know, is the individual that I spent, his last 6 years was the most inspirational 6 years of my life.
Wow.
And he taught me quite a few things, family's important. He told me to go after something and do it with a purpose and have a purpose. And he's the purpose of this business. And do things to ensure that you can be successful. So right now what I do is I do Airbnb, and that is what helps to keep the bills and the lights on, help keep a little food in my stomach, and help me to allow at least get some money out of that to save away and help fine tune this right here. So really that's what's all is going on. And outside of that, it's CareTrainr, Airbnb, in the gym.
Yeah. Those are good. Keep that mental health. And you did not mention people have to find you on social media because your messages are so encouraging for people and they're positive, and I just think give that motivation for us to be better humans. So that's a big part of what you do too.
Yeah, I do hop on social media. A quick side note for you all guys. I haven't been on social media for the last 7 years. Social media has been out for roughly 10 years. I didn't really care for social media. So I want to let you guys know that I'm not here for the likes or the follows. I am truly here because I know this is the best way to get the messages out there to care partners. This is the best way to engage with you guys, to eventually fix the problem that's in our care space that we have now, and not just put a Band-Aid over it, but fix it permanently. So you guys can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at The Caregiver Guy. All one word, The THE Caregiver, CareGiver, Guy, GUY. and just DM me and let's have a conversation. Like Nicole said, I am big on self-care. I'm big on motivation, and I'm big on making a change, seeing the changes that we need get done. And we can do it, guys. We can do it in this community. We can do it. We don't have to rely on anybody else. We can do it.
That comes through. That comes through. The energy is, we can feel it, and I hope people can see it and support you and help it grow. I'm wishing you the best successes in your future, and I just appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you for listening today. If you enjoyed our episode, please subscribe and give us 5 stars. In all honesty, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening to our episode.